Hey guys, Shelty Phillips here with my August 8th DVD update. We're talking about all the DVDs and Blu-rays I've gotten over the last 2 weeks or so. Like I always say, guys, if you enjoyed these updates, definitely give this video a thumbs up. Leave me comments below what you guys saw, the titles I checked out this update, any titles coming up which you guys would like me to review for future updates, and some of the things that you guys have gotten recently. Now, the first one I got from Shout Factory Scream Factory line is The People Under the Stairs. And this is one that I was always hoping that they would do, a collector's edition release of this. There's a standalone DVD that came out from Universal about a year or so ago, but had no features on it or anything like that at all. Commentaries, because this one has, a commentary with the director, cast and crew, commentary, as well as brand new interviews with the special effects artist and the composer and the actress who plays Mommy in the movie, and also has some behind-the-scenes features as well on this. So very cool to actually see some features on this one, because like I said, this is one of my favorite, when it comes to Wes Craven's movies, this to me has always been one of my top favorite ones to watch. This one and the other one that I hope sometime gets a Blu-ray release, Deadly Friend, which is a seriously underrated, cool movie that I think when it came out it got really bad reviews, but was such a cool movie. To me, I love that movie. But this one I love just as much, but I would say it's probably my favorite of all the Wes Craven movies. This is basically, though, about the characters of Mommy and Daddy who live in this house, and there's very, very strange things about this house, and there's people underneath the floorboards living in there, and you kind of come to figure out the reasoning behind them. I'm talking about this as if you haven't seen this, so I don't want to ruin everything about it. But basically, it's about this young boy and his sister's boyfriend who end up planning to break into this house because they hear that there's all this gold in the basement because the kid's mother is very sick and they need money for an operation, and they're about to get kicked out of their house, and the house that they're going in, the projects and the house that they're going to break into is the people who actually own the projects where they live and want to kick them all out and basically demolish them and rebuild things, and they don't really care about things. They're all about money, so they kind of make this plan to break into this house to steal the gold that they hear is in the house. But of course, when they get there, they end up getting trapped in this house with the Mommy and Daddy characters who are basically after them and killing people, and it's a very insane, crazy movie that I've always, like I said, I've absolutely loved this movie. Would highly recommend you guys watch this. And there's some great scenes too of the dad, the wardrobe that the father wears in this weird costume. That it's just so many quotable lines in this too. Like I said, to me, it's way more of a watchable movie than Nightmare on Elm Street. I love Nightmare on Elm Street, but this one I can just watch this one again and again. And the new artwork on this is amazing. Great commissioned artwork. I love how the Scream Factory line is always commissioning new artwork for a number of the collector's edition releases, and just a great artwork on this one. The next one, this is one that I had never heard of in my life. And it's called Nomads, and this is from Scream Factory as well. This is a Pierce Brosnan movie, and it's a little bit hard to explain, even when they have an interview with the actress on here talking about it. And it's like she was saying, well, not everyone likes Nomads, but some people do, but it has like a cult following. And it's kind of true, I guess. It's kind of like a weird movie that's not for everyone, I guess, just because it's just kind of odd. And the movie's basically, though, about Pierce Brosnan's character, who was a archaeologist kind of guy who would go and investigate like tribes and different kinds of tribes and stuff like that in other countries and things, basically like that. It's about this woman who works at a hospital, and Pierce Brosnan's character is in there going like basically delirious. Something has happened to him. He's gone crazy, and he ends up scratching her, and basically he ends up dying. And the nurse who gets scratched by Pierce Brosnan's character ends up basically inhabiting the mind of Pierce Brosnan's character, and basically seeing and like kind of living through his eyes and kind of seeing everything that he did and kind of what led up to getting where he was and what ended up happening about these people who were kind of following him. And he was following around these tribes of these people that he saw, like these kind of like kids in these gangs, and he was saying that they were what he was saying that they were. It's, like I said, it's a very, very odd movie to explain, but it's some cool sequences when she's kind of become him, and she's kind of walking the streets and walking into things and buildings and stuff, and kind of walking into walls when she sees him, seeing through his eyes. Like I said, it's a very odd, out there movie, but it's a pretty cool sequence in the movie. Not like the absolute greatest movie of all time, but a cool movie nonetheless, though. And the director of this too went on to direct the first Die Hard movie. The next one from Shout Factory as well, the Scream Factory line, is Ejecta. The director of this one, I believe, directed that Pontypool movie, and I think he wrote The Drownsman. I might be wrong about that. This is Ejecta. It's like a science fiction movie, which is basically about this guy who's always going around the news and things like that, saying how he had this extraterrestrial encounter when he was younger, and he's kind of been like famous for that, and people always were kind of talking to him about it and thought he was nuts, and this one guy ends up wanting to do a documentary about him, kind of talking to him about his encounters and what happened. And the guy's kind of nuts, and he's hearing all these weird sounds, and he can't sleep, and he can't do anything. He's become obsessed about this, and it's gotten worse throughout the years. But in the beginning of the movie, you end up seeing these kind of government officials kill somebody, or somebody gets killed out there near his house, and then the guy ends up getting taken in, who always saw these things. So the movie cuts back and forth between the beginning when they're talking about the interviewing him for this documentary, and him sort of tied to this chair in this Area 51 type place with this woman saying, "We need to know about you, and we need to know why did these people kill our man," the thing, and kind of doing kind of torture to him and things like that, and trying to like drill in his head, saying that they're gonna get his secrets and figure it out. It's a kind of a trippy, weird movie. That's essentially what it is like a science fiction kind of movie like that. I thought it was pretty good. The lead in this one was in the beginning of the movie Cube and a whole bunch of other different movies. But it's like I said, it's a interesting kind of take on a science fiction kind of alien encounter movie. The next one from Disney, this is pretty cool. They did one like this a couple years ago of all the Pixar shorts. This one has all the Walt Disney Animation Studio short film collection. This is going all the way back, I think, to the very beginning when they started doing these for the beginning of movies. And it has on here, like I said, it's the Walt Disney Short Films Collection. It has on here a new feature too, where they kind of talk about how they make them and how they, kind of how the ideas go around, and how they have like a meeting, once a year when like all these people can pitch ideas, and then they kind of pick one that they decide to produce. But all the shorts on here have introductions by the filmmakers as well, talking about them for a couple minutes about how they came to be. But it has on here like the Frozen short, the one short that was like the continuation of the movie Frozen. The one on here which was pretty cool, with Goofy putting together a stereo system. I can't remember what these were all in the beginning of, but these, like I said, I remember the one was the beginning of Wreck-It Ralph. Like I said, all the ones that were Disney ones, not the Pixar movies, but the actual Disney kind of animation ones. These ones played before it. There's a look at the back. This is a cool set, though, if you want to have all the Disney-produced digital shorts together, short film collections that played before the movies in the theaters. The next one from Lionsgate, and people have like mixed opinions about these movies. A lot of people, if either you like these movies or you don't. I actually like these movies. I like The Hunger Games as well. I like these kind of movies. I liked Maze Runner, the Maze Runners as well. Looking forward to the new one. And I like Shailene, Woodley, who is, in these films. And the movie is from the Divergent series, Insurgent. This is the continuation to Divergent, the first film, and it's basically about her character on the run because of what happens in the first movie. And I want to, it's kind of thing, spoil exactly what happened at the beginning of the other one, but Kate Winslet's character is basically after her and wants to find her no matter what, and she's kind of hiding out. And in the story, though, they have kind of like you have to fit into these kind of crowds, like Dauntless, and I'm not gonna do. I'm not great with the names or anything, but they have like different kind of like tribes, kind of almost like kind of things like classes where the characters sort of fit into, and if you don't fit into these classes, they give this test on you. You're considered divergent, and she's one of the first like true divergent people that they found, and because of that, they end up wanting to find her. Kate Winslet's character. It's kind of her kind of hiding out. The other people trying to find her to kind of look into her mind and try and figure out how she has the ability to be like this. I think that's an okay explanation for it. I like these movies. Like I said, I would recommend this one. It has a whole bunch of different features on this, behind the scenes access, looking at the movies, talking about the characters and things like that, marketing gallery and commentaries. But I would definitely recommend checking these out, like if you like the movies and if you like movies like Hunger Games. This one too, I was really excited to see this because the Soska sisters directed this, who they directed Dead Hooker in a Trunk, American Mary, and See No Evil 2. And this is their first kind of non-horror movie, and this is more of an action kind of gritty kind of prison film. And this stars Dean Cain in The Big Show. And some people might go, oh, is it kind of just like a because when you see this kind of movie like this, you won't know if it's actually a good one or not. And like, to me, I actually really like this movie. To be 100% honest, like it kind of had a vibe to me of like the early like prison movies that like Linda Blair was in. Like kind of like with the warden in this movie, like it had that same kind of vibe. Instead of being like kind of like a sex picture like those kind of ones were, with like nudity and all that kind of stuff in the showers and all that kind of like exploitation things like this. This is more of like exploitation for like the violence level of like really intense violence and things like that. It's basically though Dean Cain, who's a cop, and he's hunting down and trying to arrest the Big Show's characters, this criminal who's killing all these people, and he's a real bad guy, and he ends up basically arresting him and finally getting him put away, but there ends up, a key witness ends up getting killed off, so the Big Show ends up getting released from jail, and they can't prosecute him, because there's all kinds of corrupt things going on. Then he comes and kills Dean Cain's wife, so then Dean Cain, his character basically goes crazy by the whole thing, and he purposely gets himself arrested to get put into jail to get revenge on the Big Show's character. And it's him in jail and kind of trying to figure out how he's going to take down and get to the Big Show's character and kill him and kill all the people that are around him. And it's like an ultra violent movie. Like I said, it has that kind of vibe of those prison movies in the 70s and 80s. Total that kind of vibe. The music too, I really like the song in this too, that right before he ends up getting arrested, when he does what he does to get arrested. Really cool music in this. I don't know, I absolutely love this movie. It's not going to be for everybody, but if you like those kind of movies, it worked, and I really thought the Big Show did a really good performance in this as being a real bad guy, and Dean Cain too. I thought he really put a lot of effort in this, because a lot of movies he's in are like kind of like those dog kind of movies with dogs, and like horse movies, and like those kind of like this sort of, they're fine movies, but he doesn't really get to do too much like acting wise. Like this one, he actually did a really good job and also played like a real hard ass and like real pissed look on his face. Like the whole movie he has this look like real pissed. I've never seen him look so pissed in my life, but I would check this out, and it has a making of on here as well. A couple of times on the making of though, they like kept forgetting to show one of the sisters for some reason. I don't know what was going on with that. And the next one I got from Warner Brothers is so both of them directed it, so I was kind of confused why they didn't do that. But it's Hot Pursuit with Reese Witherspoon and Sofia Vergara, and it's another one that kind of had mixed opinions, but I saw this in theaters as well. I thought it's a fun movie. I mean, it's a fun, sort of silly, whatever kind of silly movie, but I liked it. I like both of them. I always liked Reese Witherspoon. And it's basically Reese Witherspoon is this cop who never really gets a lot of respect and kind of gets put on kind of the crappy kind of duty, kind of just throwaway stuff. And she's kind of in charge of, following and watching kind of Sofia Vergara's character, who's about to get, her husband is about to be put into jail because of something. He's like a cartel and doing all these bad things, and of course, she goes there to kind of take her in to custody. I think she gets put on police, house arrest or some kind of like where they, switch you to your identity and all that kind of stuff, and you have to hide out. Protective custody, and so she ends up going to take her there. Of course, the cartel men come there to try and get both of, kill Sofia Vergara's character, and then Reese Witherspoon has to kind of hide out with her, and it kind of looks like she killed all these guys in the house, and it's kind of them on like a road trip kind of thing, hiding out and things like that, and trying to get her back to safety and figuring out what they're going to do while the police are even after her. It's a fun movie though. It's a really ridiculous movie. But it's a fun time, and it has on here gag reel and alternative endings and some featurettes as well. The next one, and I felt real stupid after I watched this, because I was watching this going, man, I wish that this wasn't edited, because like, Samuel L. Jackson has his signature lines, when he says, he always says, and it was like edited, and I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool if you could watch this unedited. Of course, after this was over, I looked at the features to see what was on it, and then it had the unrated version. So if you guys pick this one up, go immediately and click the unrated one, because I had to skim through it afterwards to kind of look at the differences. And it was very different with the violent level, and a lot of the editing on the language was uncut in that version. This is Samuel L. Jackson in Big Game, and I didn't pay attention to the bottom that said that, so I just sort of put it in. The guy who directed this though directed that one horror movie, I think Rare Exports. This movie's basically about this kid who is going on like a hunting expedition where he's supposed to go out by himself in the middle of I get this. I can't remember where this was set, but it was basically he goes on a expedition where he has to kill something, and then he comes back a man, and his father, and everyone's kind of waiting for him why he does this. And at the same time, Samuel Jackson plays the president of the United States, and his plane ends up getting shot down by these bad guys, and he gets ejected and falls down into the middle of the jungle, into the wilderness where this kid is hunting, and the kid ends up kind of having to help him get to safety while the people who shot down the plane are coming after the president. So it's kind of like them trying to survive out there, and the kid kind of protecting him and what's going to happen to him and if they're going to get back and things like that. And the kid kind of, it makes it his mission to kind of protect the president. It's just a really fun movie. Like I said too, I wish I would have watched the unrated one in the beginning. I wish I would have paid attention that it had that, because it was, way, when I look back at the scenes and stuff, it was way more violent. And because I was thinking, man, it's kind of weak, some of the stuff, the way it was cut, because I could tell it was cut. And definitely, like I said, watch the unrated one. The next one from Anchor Bay as well is Adult Beginners, and this is kind of like, it's a shame that it came out when it did, because it came out after Skeleton Twins, and it kind of has that vibe of Skeleton Twins in some ways, because it's a brother and sister kind of vibe, like the way they are together. Not all the stuff the same, but just like a similar vibe to it. Like it almost could be like, almost like the knockoff, but it was all done at the same time, so it wasn't. But it's just a similar vibe to it. But I liked it just as much though. And it's Rose Byrne and Nick Kroll, and I think it's Nick Kroll's first movie where he starred in the movie. I'm pretty sure. And it's Adult Beginners, and it's basically though about Nick Kroll's character, who has this really expensive company where he developing this kind of like device, and thinks something falls through with the device, and he ends up losing everything, losing his job, losing all this money, and he has nothing left because he put all of his savings into this, million some dollars, and he's kind of gone back to nothing. So he has to end up moving in with his sister, and his sister is has a young kid, and she wants to go and be able to do things again, and they don't. She's kind of like stuck around with this situation of not knowing what she's going to do and have babysitters for the kid. And she ends up having her brother ends up just watching the kid, and it's pretty much just about him being the babysitter to this kid and living at this house for months, and kind of what happens and things like that. And then they have kind of issues and things like that happen. Like I said, it definitely has that Skeleton Twins vibe, because like they hadn't seen each other for a long time. They came back together. So if you like Skeleton Twins, you'd like this one. Bunch of character actors too make cameos in this. Bobby Mohanahan, or I always call him Bobby Butterfingers. That's not his name, but I don't know why I always say that. Or I usually say that Bobby Butterfingers or Bobby Mohanahan. And I don't even think that's his name either. But it's just a fun movie. Has on here the making of Adult Beginners as well. The next one from Anchor Bay as well is a documentary on the whole WikiLeaks thing. I believe that's what you say. The Edward Snowden, who's guy who basically talked about all the conspiracies and the things about government and spying on things through the phones and spying on people through all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't really a conspiracy because he actually had all the documents and proved everything that happened. It's one of those things that really makes you like think about everything, and like people are like when they're watching you through all your stuff, and because they already say that about all kinds of stuff. If you talk about something on your phone, then your phone will like put the ads for that, all that kind of stuff. And I've sort of seen that kind of stuff happen. If you mention something, it can kind of come up. You're like, I don't know how that came up on there. But it's basically about this guy who, does like a radio type show, ends up getting invited to talk to him, but it's like kind of undercover, and he doesn't know it's him at first, and then they get there, and he kind of talks to them about what he's discovered and how all the proof and things like that. But it's one of those things that you definitely to see if you're interested in that and in the conspiracies and all that kind of stuff. I would definitely recommend it. Has on here deleted scenes and then some extra features as well. Talking to New York Times, talking to the people from the Kemp movie as well. The next one, and this is a show that I had never seen. I don't know how I never saw it, because I'm a huge fan of Kat Dennings. I've seen all of her movies, but I never really saw this show. I might have seen like clips of it before, but not really much. And I was watching this going, this is a lot funnier than I thought, and a lot dirtier too than I thought it was going to be. And it's Two Broke Girls, the complete fourth season. And it basically, it's with these two girls who end up working in this kind of diner type place, and the kind of people that work there with them. And this season, they end up getting a cupcake kind of window place that they work at, try and make more money, and it's kind of them trying to build that business, and then all kinds of issues and situations that they get into. It's a very, very fun show. Like I said, I don't know how I had never seen it before. I don't know how I had never watched it. It has on here unaired scenes and a gag reel, but I would definitely recommend it because I was watching this too and actually laughing at it. Because when it comes to these kind of like sitcom kind of shows, like newer ones, with me it's real hit and miss. There's really not many that I watch, and some of the really popular ones I don't really like, and I don't like find much funny with them. And this one I really thought was a pretty funny show. The next one from Alchemy is the Nicolas Cage movie The Runner, and this is okay. It's basically about Nicolas Cage. And it's about like the BP oil spill, and I think it was one of the first movies they made about that, about the spill. But it's basically though he's like a politician, and trying to run for office and hoping to win again, and he kind of finds out about the BP spill and kind of thinks of that as something that he's going to try and help and figure out how to help people with this to kind of help his chances at winning again. At the same time, he has this whole political scandal thing going on, the sex scandal, because it came out that he was sleeping around with his wife, and there was video of him in this elevator with this other woman. So it's kind of him trying to repair all of that at the same time, trying to do better and kind of like make amends for what he did to kind of hope that he can still win again. That's essentially what it is. It's sort of just trying to put things together and things like that. And this has Peter Fonda in this as well. But I thought this was pretty good. Nothing like major or amazing or anything like that. The next one is a Viola Davis, Jennifer Lopez movie, Lila and Eve. And this was pretty good. It's basically though about these two women who lost both of their children or who had a support group. Viola Davis' son was killed in a drive-by. Jennifer Lopez's daughter was killed. They don't get into too much about it, but she was a kid, a little kid that ended up getting killed, and it kind of become friends together at this support group. And both of them have had really bad luck with the police and trying to figure out who killed their children, and they kind of are not giving them the time of the day. So they kind of take it on their own to investigate it and try and figure out exactly who killed Viola Davis' son in the drive-by. So it's them kind of going and trying to find them and kind of get revenge. So it's like immediately that snaps at them kind of killing people and, going after these people. And it's a pretty decent revenge film. I actually thought it was pretty good, really well acted too. Good performances from both of them in the movie. I would recommend this. I thought this was a pretty good movie that was like really wondering too, and it has some interesting twists and stuff in this as well. But it has on here interviews with the cast on this. But I would definitely recommend checking this out. I was really surprised with this one. The next one from Cinedigm. This is one when I saw the trailer, I was really interested in this because they also did like a spoof trailer, kind of like Birdman with this, going I Am Big Bird. And it's a Carol Spinney story, basically called I Am Big Bird, and it's basically about his life, about how he ended up becoming Big Bird, and how in the very beginning how he started out and how he almost didn't even get the job, and well, he actually almost ended up quitting because it wasn't working out in the very first season of the show. He was having all kinds of issues, and then about how he kind of got into it. And they also talked about stuff too that was about Big Bird almost went to space on the Challenger, and it didn't end up working out last minute. So it's kind of scary to think that if he would have gone on there, he would have died on there. So it's like all these kind of different things about his life, but very, very well-made documentary about him. Talks to a whole lot of people from his life, and has some pretty cool behind-the-scenes stuff of him on the set of Sesame Street. And he has like this kind of like light that he has inside of his suit with the script inside. It's a very interesting stuff showing how he does it. But he still to this day does Big Bird. And they also talk about who is going to take over when he passes away or if decides to leave. But he doesn't seem like he really wants to go. He wants to do it for a long time, which I think it's cool that he's continued on with the show for so long. The next one from Lionsgate is Power Rangers Super Mega Force, the Legendary Battle. And this one is really like a big episode because it gets the original number of the original Power Rangers back together. It gets the Green Ranger back and a number of other random Power Rangers from the early and some of the later seasons together, because it's basically about this giant alien battle of all these ships coming to kind of attack the Earth. And the Power Rangers kind of have to work together and figure out how they're going to beat them. But at the end of the thing, they all come together and you see them all together. So it's not a twist. Everyone knows that's why they wanted to see this one. This is the extended movie edition of this. But this is very cool, though, to see, Tommy, the original, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and like I said, a number of other sporadic ones within the group. And there's like a big scene of all the different ones together like that. But, some of them take off their mask and you see who the original ones were. But if you're a fan of the original ones, this one I would definitely recommend just to see that. It has on here a Power Rangers Legacy, a featurette as well, about the making of this episode 1. And the next one from Lionsgate as well, it's a complete first season of The Royals. It says the second season is going to be coming on November 2015 on E. And I had never seen this one before. It's an interesting series. It's basically kind of like a parody a little bit of parody, but kind of comedic, but sort of drama as well, about a not the real royal family, but a rural family, kind of an alternate reality. This is the only rural family there is in England. And Elizabeth Hurley plays the Queen. It's about the one prince who ends up dying, and the prince and princess kind of both are kind of around partying and doing all kinds of crazy stuff and getting pictured with the paparazzi doing kind of bad stuff, and they kind of come back together after the brother dies, and then they kind of know that one of them is going to end up being next on the throne, and kind of them just sort of trying to figure it all out, and kind of all the kind of issues and problems that this family has together. But it's a pretty well-made series, and has on here some behind the wardrobe and some making-ofs as well. But I really wanted to see Elizabeth Hurley because she's kind of come back to acting in the last couple of years. And it's a pretty good series, though, for Elizabeth Hurley, though. The next one from Cinedigm is Mythbusters Collection 13. This is one that I always like, this show. I know the latest series, it's basically just, Jamie and Adam Savage character that I think they kind of switched it to how it was in the very beginning of the show, and it's not the other characters kind of doing the side stuff. But this one has on here that Titanic survival episode when they try and show if they would have, Jack and Rose would have actually died. They both, Jack's character had to die in Titanic, and that myth has a myth on here about food fables, about if everything actually tastes like chicken or not. People say, oh, it tastes like chicken. They do a test to see if that's really true. And an explosions one, and then Fright Night, a bunch of different ones on this. But always been a fan of this series, and it's, basically just the characters kind of trying out myths and seeing if the myths are real or not. The next one from IFC Midnight from MPI is Inner Demons. This is basically about this girl who is, kind of like a religious kind of girl from a religious family, and all of a sudden overnight she kind of changes and starts changing her ways and gets addicted to heroin and on all these kind of drugs, and she ends up getting put into a camera crew is kind of following her around for a kind of show because the family ends up allowing this to happen, a show kind of like an intervention show to film her and kind of get her to go to intervention. But of course they discover that there's something weird about her and demonic, and that's why she's using these drugs to try and control this. But she gets put into the rehab center, and then all hell ends up breaking loose there with her going crazy and all the kind of things that happen with her there. It was a pretty cool movie. It has on here the trailer as well, but a kind of creepy mix with found footage, mixed with not found footage film. The next one from PBS, and I watched through all these ones on this. It has Rick's Seabox Summer Fun, and it's 3 different documentaries, all from 1999 at fairs, and it has one an ice cream show talking about all kinds of different ice creams at the fair, great old amusement parks, which was a really cool one of them. This is before all the Travel Channel things and all those kind of shows exploring different places, so it's different way that was produced, which was kind of cool to see it 1999 how they were producing this kind of a show. But they go to old amusement parks like Kennywood and all the old roller coasters, and they show the one that had this cool Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood kind of thing, and then they have a hot dog program talking about all the different kind of hot dog stands. They show Pink's out in LA, a whole bunch of different places. Very, very cool. Would highly recommend you guys check this out if you're interested in those kind of things, and seeing stuff about the shores and stuff like that for vacation destinations. I like this a lot. And the next one, PBS as well, is America's Test Kitchen. This is the season 15, has 26 episodes on 4 discs. And it's basically, though, if you guys have not seen the show, it's a cooking kind of show where they try out recipes. My favorite thing on here, though, is when they do tests, like blind, tests where they put things in bags and the guy tries them, doesn't know what they are, and he tries different types of cheese and different types of beans, and he kind of picks what he likes of them. I don't know. I always loved that. That was like my favorite thing that they do. They also try out like technology and blenders and stuff like that to see which is the best one. But a cool series though, if you're interested in that kind of stuff and cooking, and it has a bunch of different recipes as well that you can watch them cook. And the last two that I got from Mill Creek is the William Castle Horror Collection, which has 5 films. And if the William Castle films, if you haven't seen them, they were always like, I remember in school they played like these reels of like the trailers for his movies, and they always had like the kind of, if you ever saw the movie Matinee, that movie was pretty much based on his type of movie making, where they had kind of gimmicks where they had like electric seats or see it in like Scare-O-Vision and all that kind of things like that. It has on here 13th Ghost, 13th Frightened Girls, Mr. Sardonicus, Homicidal, The Old Dark House. 13th Ghost, 13 Ghosts was the one they remade in like 2001. But these are all cool, haunted house, very creepy movies, fun movies. And the last one is The Busy World of Richard Scarry. This has all 5 seasons, and this is the complete series. This is one I always remember. I think it was like 2000. I mean, it started in 1993. I always remember watching this as a kid. I remember as a kid too having that really big book that you opened up that had like had to try and find them and things like that, like the characters. This is a very, very fun kids series, and cool that the whole series is released. And Mill Creek always has really low prices on this stuff, which is pretty cool to get like a whole series for really low price. But anyway, though, guys, that's all for this DVD Blu-ray update, and I'll see you guys later.